This video is an introduction to building disconnected applications with Alpha Anywhere. So the basic building block for disconnected applications is the list control in the UX component and the associated detail view for the list control. So let's start out now in a completely empty UX control and a UX component, and let's go ahead now and add in a list control. So we'll click list control here from the data control section, and then we're going to use a genie that sets up a list control with an associated detail view for us all in one step. So I'm going to go here and choose add a single new control and then click on the genie here, and let's go ahead now and make selections from the genie. So I'm going to start out by making the width of the list say 8 inches so we can see quite a lot of the columns that we're going to put into the list. And now let's go and choose our connection string. So I'll choose Northwind, and then I'm going to choose the customer table from Northwind. So I'll go there and choose the customers table. I'll choose my field list. So these are the fields that I'd like to have available in the query. So this is the data that we're going to retrieve from the server and have available to us while we're disconnected. Then I'm going to go here and turn on the detail view, and I'm going to specify that the detail view should show all of the fields that are in this query statement over here. We could, if we wanted to, display fewer fields in the detail view than are in the query. And then the list itself, I'm going to also display all of the fields that are in the query. So again, we could display fewer fields in the list than we have in the query. Then I'm going to turn on, for now, a placeholder to show debugging information. Then I'm going to go ahead now and add a search part for this list. And the reason that we want to have a search part is that typically in a mobile application, what you want to do is when the user launches the app, you'd like them to type in search criteria to retrieve from the server the data that they want to have available to them while they're disconnected. So the search part can be configured in several different ways. You can specify individual controls for the user to enter search criteria in, say, the company field, the city field, the country field, etc. You could also choose a single keyword search where the user just types in a search value into a single field, and then the service does a search across multiple fields in the database, which is the option that we're going to choose now. And then you can also choose query by form, in which case the detail view fields can also be used not only to enter data into the list, but to enter criteria for searching the list. So I'm going to just right now choose single keyword control. So I'm going to say that this keyword control will search in all of these fields in my query. And then I'm going to also specify that we'd like to delay populating the list until there's an active search. So basically the idea here is that when the application first starts out, the list will be empty, and then the user will enter search criteria to retrieve the data of interest, which is the data that they'll have available to them while they are disconnected. I'm going to go ahead here and add in debug information, and then I'm going to turn on disconnected operations. So I'm going to specify that the data in the list should be persisted to local storage. So now I'm going to go ahead now and click the OK button, and you'll see that the genie has filled in all of these controls now. So let's pause now and pick this up in the next video where we actually go ahead and now run this component. So we're continuing with our introduction to building disconnected applications, and we've just created a list control with an associated search part and a detail view using the quick setup genie. So let's go ahead now and save this as UX1, and then go ahead and run this component. So when we switch over to working preview mode now to preview the component, we can see the list currently has no data in it, and that's because we specified that this list control has an associated search part and that the list should not be populated until there's an active search. So I'm going to go here now and type in, say, USA to go and retrieve all the records for customers in the United States. And because we turned on debugging information, we can actually see here what the where clause is that was added to the SQL select statement for this list control. So here's our data, and now you can see the detail view has been populated with details for the current row. So I'm going to go there and select different rows, and each time I select a different row, the detail view gets updated, and then you can see here are the buttons that allow me to save the data back to the list. So let's go back now and start making edits to this list. So I'll go to the first record here, and let's go ahead and change that to Howard Smith, and then hit the save button. Now when we hit the save button, the edit is written back into the list control over here, and there's a little icon in the top right hand corner that indicates that this row has been edited but has not yet been synchronized with the server. You can also see that because I turned on debugging information, I can actually see over here the JSON data that has been stored inside this row here. So this information is displayed only because I turned on the debugging option when I built this list with the associated detail view. And what I can see here that we have available in this list data is the new value in the contact name field, and also the original value in the field. So now I can go ahead now and make additional edits. So let's go to, say, this record over here and change this to Josh Laddie, and then go ahead now and hit the save button. And now you can see now we've got two rows that have got unsynchronized data. So at this point, none of these edits have been pushed back to the server, but all of the data that we've edited and retrieved from the server right now has been stored in local storage. So that means that if I were to exit this application and then restart it, simulating, say, a mobile device losing power and then having the application be restarted, or a user exiting the application on the mobile device and then restarting the application, you can see now that when I restart the application, all of the data that we retrieved from the server is automatically filled in for us. The two pending edits that have not yet been synchronized with the server are restored, and now I can go back to the synchronize button, and when I click this button, all of the pending edits get pushed back to the server, and the server database has now been updated. So if we go back into list control here, we can see that certain properties were set automatically for us by the Genie. So if we go now to list properties, we can see that the persist data to local storage option was turned on automatically, that the list has detail view property was turned on, and that the list has search part property were all automatically turned on for us. So let's pause now and pick this up in the next video. In the previous video we showed how you can edit data in the list control, and all of the edits are persisted in the list control and are only pushed back to the server when you have a connection and you click the synchronize button. But in this particular case here, the list control is simple. It's just showing data from a single table, from the customer table. But in many applications you're going to deal with hierarchical data. So for example, for each customer you might have a list of orders that you would like to display. So let's go back now to the design mode and show how we can add in child lists to display hierarchical data. So I'm going to go back now to design mode, and we'll go back to our data controls, and we're going to choose again a list control, and I'll go here and I'll just call this list 2, but I'll use the Genie here, the quick setup Genie. Again, we're going to get data from the Northwind database, and we're going to choose this time data from the orders table. So there's our orders table, and we'll choose our field list. So we'll just choose several fields from the orders table, and again we're going to turn on the detail view, and just to keep things simple, we'll display all of the fields in the query in the detail view, and again all of the fields in the query in the list itself. We will not choose a search part, and we will specify that this list has a parent list. So I'm going to go there and say that there's a parent list, and the parent list is list 1, and that the linking fields are the customer ID fields. So this is the field in the parent list that is common, and this is the field in the child list that is common to the two lists. And also, most importantly, here you can see we've got this preload data option checked, which means that when we populate the data for the customer list, we're going to prefetch all of the orders for each customer. So let's go ahead now and click OK. And you can see now that we add in a second list over here. And now what I'm going to do is run this in the browser so we can see data in the browser and we can see what data is being retrieved. So there's our customer list, which is currently empty because there's no active search. And there's our orders list, which of course is also empty because there's no active search. So I'm going to go here and type in USA, which is going to go and retrieve all of our customers in the United States. And now you can see that not only are we showing all of the customers in the United States here, but for each customer we're showing the orders that customer has placed. So if I were to go, for example, and click on this record here, you can see that this is now the customer ID is HUNGC, and now I'm getting to see here underneath this all of the orders that that particular customer has placed. If I go there and choose a different customer, I can see here that now we're seeing all of the orders for that next customer. But the important thing to note is that every time I click on a different customer, there's no AJAX callback taking place. So all of the data is in memory right now. So all of the customers' information and all of the order information is also in memory. So now let's see what happens when we make an edit, for example, to this order and change the order employee ID from 8 to 3, and then go ahead and hit the save button. So we'll go ahead and hit the save button. Now you can see this row now is marked as dirty, but also when we go look at the parent row, this row is also marked as dirty, but it's marked as dirty with a light orange icon to indicate that this row itself is not dirty, but one of its children is dirty. So this is a so-called inherited dirty flag. Now if I go ahead and click the synchronize button, then the edits are pushed. You can see now we did an AJAX callback and the edits are pushed and the updates are written to the order details table, and had there been an update to the orders table, to the customer table, that too would have been updated. So what we've shown in this video is how you can build hierarchical data sets and work with those data sets while you're disconnected. And what you can see here is when I reload the application here, we're automatically fetching all of the customer data that was stored in local storage, and also order details are automatically fetched from local storage. Thanks very much for watching.